Hi, folks. It's JT here with Sky Blue Radio. I have the leader of PMDG with me today, Mr. Robert Randazzo. If you're not familiar with PMDG, you definitely need to be. Check them out at pmdg.com. Today, we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest news from PMDG, who are working with Boeing with their virtual airplane procedures trainer. That's pretty cool. And then Robert and I will talk a little bit about their latest and greatest 737NG for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Robert, how you doing? I haven't talked to you in a while. It's good to get back with you and have one of our chats, I guess, huh?
Yeah, things are going really well. Thanks, I appreciate it. We, gosh, actually, this is the first time you and I have spoken probably about a year and a half, which is
yeah. I think you're right because I think it was Serge that was with us from the Pilot Club. He joined us and. We planned on doing a 30-minute interview, and we ended up talking for 2 hours or something like that. It was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it.
That was fun. Yeah. And since we spoke last, we've moved, so I'm in a new office. Although I don't think you could see the other one. We didn't do that on video, did we? We did that.
No. This is the first time we've done video.
Yeah. So we left Northern Virginia. We're now out on the eastern shore of Maryland, where life is calmer and quieter. So.
Oh, nice, beautiful out there.
Yeah. Now I said quieter. The last time we did this, we had a brand new golden retriever puppy, Leo.
Right. Yep.
And so we have a brand new golden retriever puppy named Marvin.
Marvin.
And I'm certain that you're going to hear him at some point during this.
That's okay. That's okay.
He's 13 weeks old, so he's still in terrorist mode. So he's a ton of fun.
Nice. Good. What made you move to Maryland? Just out of curiosity, just something different, or get out of the hubbub of the Metro DC area, I guess.
Yeah, my wife, who PMDG users will know as the lovely Dr. Randazzo. We had lived on and off in Alexandria, Virginia, for about 30 years. We did 8 years out in Nevada, and then came back to the East Coast to raise our daughter. And our plan had always been we were going to move to Northern California and go up into wine country someplace. And so a couple of years every summer, we would go and drive around and look at places. And
nice.
Usually September, October, when we were back home, we would watch those places burn to the ground on the evening news. So we decided maybe that wasn't the greatest plan for, where we wanted to be next. And my wife grew up in Manhattan, spent her summers out on Cape Cod and taught sailing. She was a sailing instructor and that sort of stuff. So she suggested we come out here because it's a very similar kind of environment. It's warmer. So, and we drove out here, and I had kind of wrinkled my nose up at the idea because, I thought I was a Virginian. So, Virginians don't like living in Maryland. And we drove out here and we took a look around, and I said to her, hey, I'll stay here and guard the place. You go get our stuff. So
smart man.
We've been here about 15 months now, and we absolutely love it. It really is. It's a magnificent place.
Good. That's really good to hear. I noticed looking in the background there, you got your captain's hat there in the cabinet. That's pretty cool. I think I remember a picture or two of you with that hat on. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's my DC-3 captain's hat.
That's what it was. That's what it was. DC-3 captain hat.
The bookshelves behind me, it sort of like follows a bunch of my career path. I've got little knickknacks and stuff. So I think in that same cabinet, I can't really tell without turning around and looking behind me, but I think in that same cabinet, there's a little airplane that was given to me by the last team that I managed at United Airlines before I went into the flying side of things. It's a little Mickey Mouse airplane, and they put it on top of the cake for me the day I left. So there's a bunch of things in there. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That's funny because, there's a lot of new flight simmers in the world today, and not guys like us that have been around for a day or two, and they're not real sure, I don't think, where PMDG came from. Why don't you kind of give us a quick rundown on how PMDG was born?
Yeah. So, back, a little over 30 years ago, I was building flight time. I worked for United Airlines in management and really wanted to get out of management and get into flying. I had just about run completely out of money And there was this new software program that appeared on the scene that simulated the 747-400. It was a DOS-based program. And I joined a whole group of people on the internet, and none of us knew how to make the thing work. But I had a lot of friends that worked in a place called TK, the Denver TK, which is the training department at United Airlines.
That's right. Yep, I remember.
So I reached out to some friends of mine that were instructors on the 747 and said, hey, if I come out for a weekend, can you teach me everything I need to know so I can teach them? And after they finished laughing at the request, I wound up getting to spend some time in the sim with them and learning a bunch of stuff. And they gave me all the documents and manuals, and I wrote a how-to guide for how to operate the software simulator. And that was the 8th of August of, the 7th of August of 1997 was the day I actually incorporated PMDG. And at the time, the company was called Precision Manuals Development. And some dude in an online forum took a pot shot at me, and he said, well, this product he's making can't be very serious because it's just him. So I added G to the end of it and made it a group. It was a group of one. But
interesting.
Started off from there, and then I got bored with the TechPub writing stuff and started looking at making software. I had been tinkering with Microsoft Flight Simulator since before Microsoft Flight Simulator was Microsoft Flight Simulator. I started tinkering with sims back in the late 80s. Got into the software side, and one thing led to another, and now I don't even know how many people are on the team anymore. And we've got folks in 14 countries as of today.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We cover enough time zones that I rarely get to sleep. And if you had told me back in 1997 that I would leave the airline industry in order to do this, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
But we make some pretty serious products. We're really good at what we do. We've got an incredibly talented team of software engineers, many of whom have an aviation or an engineering background. And so the combination of those special skills allows us to create products that I think really reflect well how airliners are operated. And we built our reputation in FSX and then in the prepared world. And here we are at Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we're one of many very, very good developers in this sector. And we've been at this a long time. We're pretty comfortable with what we're doing, and we have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. When you went to the simulators at United, there, I can see the guys at United going, "What is this geek, wanting to do? Why would he want to do something like that? And if they can only see you now, right?"
Right. Yeah.
That's funny. I think that training center, that we know, is moving. It's actually going to be south of DIA now, I think. So that's kind of interesting. That place just blowing up. But 1997, that's a long time ago.
No, it's not. No, it's
okay.
not.
I didn't want to poke at all, but yeah.
I say as all the gray hair and the beard now,
Yeah. Well, look at my end. I'm right there with you.
I like to tease Marisa and say, before we got married, I didn't have any gray hair. She says it has something to do with the fact that I'm almost 25 years older than when we got married. But who knows what she's talking about? That's funny.
Funny. So now, starting in 1997, and then just this past week, it became public that you have something pretty cool going on with Boeing. And I'm sure you've been working with them for years. And in fact, I know that you've been working with them for years, but this is kind of different. This is a virtual airplane procedure trainer. And when I saw the announcement, I was like, cool. How cool is that? But not a lot of people kind of understand what that means for pilots. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So back in, 2003, July 1st of 2003, we released
You got a good memory
of our 737. Well, I have a good memory for trauma, and when we released our 737, it was July 1st. We had never released a major software product like that, and I think there were 5 of us on the team. We had no concept of just how far and wide the word had spread that we were about to release this 737, and we had been posting images of it for a while. And my old friend Tom Allensworth, who ran Avsim at the time, he
Remember Tom, yeah,
all over. And so we released it, and we thought at the time I had a conversation with Marisa, and she said, what defines success for this? And I said, well, if we sell 1,000 units, that'd be a great day. And I said, if we sold like 4,000 units, that would be like a grand slam. And we did it like in the first 30 days, which astounded me. I don't think any of us had any idea how big the market was. But it's funny when you look at the 1.0 now, and it's an eyesore. But at the time, we were really the first to rely heavily on the 3D virtual cockpit concept in FSX. There were a couple of other products that sort of had it, but we really went to town with it. As rudimentary as it seems when you look back at it, at the time, it was groundbreaking. And in August of 2005, so the trauma there was that when we released it, like the website just fell on its face. So we spent like 3 days trying to figure out how to make all that stuff work. But that's why I remember it.
Yeah.
So in August of 2005, we were invited to a meeting with Boeing that was related to something else. But I managed to talk them into hearing a presentation on, hey, we have the 737 software, and we think there's room for it in the training paradigm. And the thought process came around. I had been reading Aviation Week because I'm a nerd,
right?
And there was an article in there which the Boeing was talking about. I think they had just done something with a company named Alteon, which was a Boeing subsidiary that was related to training, and either they had just started it or they had branched it off or something. The details are kind of fuzzy. But Alteon had in this article, Alteon Boeing commented the fact that if they could shave 1 day off the training footprint for airline pilots worldwide, it would save the industry $1 billion. Wow. And I, at that point, had a couple of type ratings, was flying professionally. At the time, I was an assistant chief pilot at a large 121 air carrier. And one of the things that really frustrated me was, I'd walk into a classroom to fly a new type, and you'd sit down at a desk, they'd give you a rolled up paper poster and a stack of manuals. And I was like, this can be done with software, because you can flip through the manuals all you want, but if you see it on a screen and you interact with it, and you can see that, turning this knob turns that light on, and this light comes on, it means you got to turn that knob. If you can do that, pilots we're all fairly, right brain, well toilet trained, and so we respond well to visual training, and so we had this opportunity, and I made this pitch to Boeing, like, hey, we've got this idea, and they laughed us out of the room. And at the time, we were just kind of like, oh well, we took our shot and it didn't work. They were right to laugh us out of the room at the time. The technology wasn't there. It wasn't there in many different aspects. We were overly confident in what we thought we could do. So time rolls on. We had an opportunity to make a similar presentation in 2009. In 2010, Boeing came to us. They were looking at something that as I'm saying it out loud, I need to be careful what I say. Boeing approached us on a similar topic, and the conversation really went nowhere. It was technology that they weren't really too thrilled with yet. In 2012, we did a much more formal presentation where we were invited to come in to pitch whether we thought the technology was there. And we made another presentation with the NGX, which was our 2.0 version of the 737, which was arguably significantly better.
Right. Yeah.
But again, if you look at it now, it still looks kind of rudimentary. And we made that presentation, and again, the technology really didn't go anywhere. A couple of years ago, 2019, late 2019, Boeing and Microsoft began to talk about an enterprise version of the flight simulator environment that they would use to really fulfill that vision that we thought we had back in 2003 or so. And as I'm hearing myself say that, I want to be really careful to make clear that I'm not alleging that this idea was ours and Boeing ran with it. No, there were a lot of people in many different places having the same idea that somehow training technology at the computer level could influence positive outcomes for pilots in the training environment. And I was a little bit more vocal about it because I lived on both sides of it. I would go and get a type rating, and I was working on making these simulators. And Boeing and Microsoft started down a road, and they invited us to sit at the table and sort of have a conversation with them about it. And years went by, and there was a lot of talking over a number of years. And Boeing, I'm going to, if it sounds like I'm glossing over details about what Boeing's product is, it's because I am, because it's not our product. It's Boeing's product. It's Microsoft's product. These two companies have invested a tremendous amount of energy into building what I believe, as a former airline pilot, as a current bizjet pilot, what I believe to be something that will fundamentally change the way airline pilots are trained. And effectively, what it means is that we're going to be leveraging screen-based technology in the industry, so that pilots can sit down with their manuals in a casual, no-threat environment of their own living room or their favorite easy chair or the hotel on layovers or between training events in the training academy. And they can work with the manuals and read and study and play with the airplane in a non-threat environment. It's also a low-cost environment. So, as a pilot, if I were to go and get a 787 rating, I could get this thing and use it on whatever screen it's fit for, so that when I show up in the classroom, I've already had an opportunity to kind of read ahead and learn. Yeah. And when I show up in the simulator, I don't have to hunt around for buttons and switches, and I don't have to try to play with menus and drill into things. I've had the opportunity to do that with a digital twin of the airplane, and therefore the buttonology and the switchology and what to expect is going to change on the displays, and which knob is going to do what, and how are the modes going to change in what order, and if I suddenly need to do a heading to intercept, how do I do that on this FMS? I've played with all that stuff by the time I get in the sim. Yeah. What I believe that does, having been the dude in the sim, knowing a lot of type rating examiners, what that does, it allows those of us who do this professionally, when we get into the simulator, rather than focusing on mechanics of how to operate the machine, we can focus on the judgment that makes us good aviators. And so by taking a day or two out of trying to figure out which buttons to press in which order, and applying it instead to hey, this is how you recognize that this approach has too much energy. This is how you recognize that that this particular scenario is not going well, and you need to start looking for another plan. It allows us to leverage the innate inquisitiveness of the flight crew to do the learning before they get there, and then take the time that's allocated for learning to teach them the judgment that they're going to need to stay out of trouble once they get out in the real world. So, so Boeing and Microsoft, this is what they did, and it's going to be incredible. I can't wait.
I'm pretty excited too
to see it when it actually rolls out. what they wound up doing was they came to us, and we have some well-known technology on certain Boeing airplanes, and Boeing felt that they could leverage that to speed their timeline in certain areas of their product development. And yes, I'm talking around what those areas were. I'm doing that intentionally. And we had a number of long conversations. We're a very small company. Boeing is a very big company. I particularly love Boeing. I've got Boeing type ratings, and I've always kind of looked up to their product, and from the time I was a little boy. But they've had some hard times. Everybody knows what that is.
Right.
And that opened our eyes to some of the concerns that we need as a small company, for the fact that if we're going to take this technology that we've developed and put it into that environment, there's some very serious questions that have to be answered about how it gets used and the liability limitations and things of that nature. So there was a lot of talk and a lot of conversation that went on there, and ultimately we were able to put something together. And without I don't want to put words in Boeing's mouth. I think they were very happy with what they found in our technology. They were very happy to work with it. They were wonderful to work with. We really, really enjoyed it. They've got an incredible team that really knows what they're doing, and they understand they understand the end goal. And there was a real fire and a real passion on their part. They really have embraced that infinitesimal seed corn of an idea that I had back in 2003, that like this could get used for this stuff, and that many other people had. They got a lot of those people together, and us included, I guess, and they're making it work. I my hats off to them. They did incredible stuff. The technology that we gave them is a very tiny piece of what they have done. The technology behind what they've done is absolutely mind-boggling, and I wish I could talk more about it. It's not mine to share.
Right.
So when they reach the point where they want to share it, it's probably bubble up again for Simmers. It really is. It's incredible what they did. They got a great team, very, very hardworking, very smart. And I think they are going to succeed in changing the game in the way that pilots are trained. And I'm happy we could play a tiny little role in that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Do you think that the 737 line is going to be the only place that they go? Do you think that it'll go out to other models? 757, 777.
Yeah, without sharing any information that is not ours. I think a logical person would assume that they would. They've got a pretty broad and complex product line, so there's no reason they would just stick to one airplane. So
yeah. And then this technology also it's on a laptop, right? So it's not a desktop computer. What does that mean for Simmers in the future? I mean, are we going to be able to use PMDG 737, for example, on a laptop that we get or whatever? You know what I mean? Rather than a desktop computer that the majority of us use to fly.
I have sat in on conversations unrelated to Boeing, where I believe that the grand vision for Microsoft Flight Simulator has been all along that it should be hardware agnostic. It's one of the reasons why it's designed the way it is. The fact that Asobo and Microsoft were forward thinking enough to allow their product to run on a PC and on a Xbox, and on a PlayStation. The fact that a company like PMDG can build a product and it can work on 3 very different platforms because of the way they design the simulator itself. I think it's extraordinary, and that's been part of their vision all along. So with the advent of high bandwidth and streaming technology and things like that, I mean, most of the gaming community is moving to screencasting, and
that's true.
At all that Microsoft Flight Simulator would be that way. I am an old simmer. So, you know, I come from the genre
I'm
where
not going
it's,
to touch
you know,
that.
I want it on a floppy disk and I want to put it in the drive. You know, I like the idea of having it local on my machine, so I know the processing is being done there, you know, that sort of thing. But the reality is that the technology is very, very rapidly running in a direction where that's not going to matter, and that also might not be advantageous. So, I mean, what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
you're right.
I got Dad bought me an Atari 800. This is probably in 82, 83, something like that. And you and I have had this conversation before, and somewhere on the shelf in my office here, I have the cartridge for the Jumbo Jet Pilot game that he also bought me, which set this whole thing off.
Yeah.
But you know, back in those days when I would, you know, sit in the living room of my parents' house as a, you know, 13, 14-year-old boy and dream that one day I was gonna do this stuff. I also dreamed that, like, man, one day we're gonna have these really cool simulators that are gonna do all these things, and by gosh, we got it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the leadership that Microsoft has had in this area is, I mean, it's extraordinary. I have such respect and admiration for them. You know, we don't converse too much with the folks at Asobo. You know, the poor souls, they're so busy that I don't think they have time to talk to each other. But you know, when we do talk to them, you know, I'm always just, I'm so thoroughly impressed by the professionalism that we see there. They really have a vision to give us street level simmers the most realistic looking and feeling simulator that they can. And you know, I had our 737 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 loaded up earlier tonight. I was working on some stuff, and you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it blows my mind how realistic it looks. You know, you know, my airplane is based about 15 miles up the road from where I live, and you know, I fly in and out of there a lot. And I had the 737 there because, you know, it's always fun to stick the
Of
airplane in
course.
the airport.
Yeah.
And you know, I launched out of there and took off and was just kind of like looking around, and you know, it looks right. It's just extraordinary to me how good we have it. And I'm not sure that many simmers who have joined all of us in the last 2 or 3 years really understand just how extraordinary this really is. It is unbelievable what we have.
I would agree with that.
So it's fun.
Yeah, it's when you talked about you know, launching out of your home airport, it made me go back to, you know, when the early days of flight sim, and you know, you took off from Meigs Field there in Chicago, and I would take off and I'd just set a heading and I'd land at Stapleton Airport in Denver, and you know, you did that VOR to VOR kind of thing, and it's not like that anymore. And this past week, I participated in World Flight and flew around the world with all the simmers and, you know, 100 different virtual pilots. And I was just amazed at how far we've come with scenery and technology, like you just talked about. So that's pretty cool. But you know, you just said something that I know that a lot of people want to know about, and that's the 737 NG for 2024. What can you tell us about, you know, what's different about this? And I'm not going to say when is it going to be released because I know what your response is going to be, but you know,
When it's finished.
yeah, yeah, and it's funny because I was on your forum earlier today and yesterday, and I was just, you know, kind of reading and stuff, and there's so many people that are just so excited. The passion that they have for your product is really commendable to you and to your team. You know, they get kind of angry sometimes because they want to play it, you know, gimme, you know, take my money kind of a thing. But it's really commendable to you and to your team. So good job to you guys. But what can you tell us about the NG that's coming out for 2024? Because I know that I'm excited myself.
So it's nearly finished. It's you know, it's been kind of a slog. I think a lot of us, and by us, I mean, I don't mean PMDG, I mean all of us in simming, we've kind of lost track of how much time has gone by since we released our original 737 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. It's been 3.5 years, and
Oh, wow.
in
Yeah.
that 3.5 years, the product it's aged. It's aged a lot. We built it at a period of time where we were brand new to the 2020 platform. We were still trying to figure it out. There were
There's some challenges there, if I remember right, with Microsoft and the SDK and stuff like that, if I remember right.
Yeah, there were challenges with the SDK. There were challenges with the tools. There were even more challenges with our understanding of how to make it work. We had spent 20 years developing on a different platform with a certain mindset, and we just kind of, law of primacy, we brought that mindset with us and then discovered that it didn't work.
Yeah.
So we had a really tough development cycle to get that 737 done. And at the time it was finished, we were very proud of it. It still needed some things, and we were able to bring those in. We pivoted on to the 777, which we're very, very proud of. We think the triple really shows itself very, very well, and it shows itself even better on the 24 platform.
That's true.
One of the advantages we had with the triple was that when we really were in full development cycle on the triple, Microsoft announced 24. So we knew that change was coming. So we kind of got off the throttle a little bit to slide it out on the calendar so that we would have some time to work with the 24 platform so that we would release a product into 24 that really was ready for that platform and showed well on that platform. So, financially, that was kind of the sort of decision that your CFO looks at you and says, "Wait, you're going to do what?" But as the head of the company, I'm glad we did it. I thought it was the right thing for our customers. I thought it was the right thing for the product, and I still do. And so as we pivoted from the triple, like the next project is we've got the 747 fleet. And we thought that the 737 would simply just drag over to 24, and it doesn't. And
that's actually what I was going to ask you about. That are you just porting that over, or what's different about it?
No, when 24 was announced, there was language used that allowed the community, including us, to believe that 2020 products would be compatible with 24. There was a little tiny asterisk in there that a lot of people missed. That what was really said was that most products you could drag them over, and the 737 did not fit into that. So the 737 was old enough that it just didn't work in 24, and rejiggering things to make it work in 24. Yeah, we could have done that, but it was a 3.5-year-old product, and it would have looked like a 3.5-year-old product that we just kind of dragged over and said, see ya.
Yeah, good call.
Our customers really like what we make. One of the criticisms that we field a lot is like, well, why are you guys doing the 737 again? Well, we're doing it because our customers really like it, and they really want it. And I think everybody saw the shift in capability of 24 and looked at the 737 and thought, gosh, I really hope they, update this. And so that's what we've done. And it's been it's nearly a ground up rebuild. We put a tremendous amount of focus in redoing the model for the flight deck and the cabins. So there's so much that has changed. It's almost hard to rattle it off. There's some really straightforward things. The windows open and close, and the
cool.
door opens and closes, and we've got a really, really, really high detail cabin with a ton of stuff in it that you can monkey with. The flight deck was redone in order to leverage the 2024 engine for better lighting, better color correction. The animations have all been spruced up. It really, lately I've been moving back and forth between the two simulators, and there is a massive difference between the two that you really see when you go backward. When you go back into the old one, you go like, wow, this looks like it's there's things that we changed because we've added to the team, we've expanded the staff, we've got much greater capabilities on the team than we had 5 years ago. We've got much more development talent than we had 5 years ago. So we've really expanded into a whole lot of things. We've got an entirely new sound suite that is.
That's what I was going to ask next. Sound.
Yeah, that's been completely refactored. I mean, I have spent the last month or so being the official errand boy for our sound engineering team that's working on it. They'll be like, well, hey, if this little latch moves, it makes this sound, and we need that, coded so we can trigger it. Oh, okay. So that's become my job.
Interesting.
Now. I'm looking at you, Christian. And so this product is so fundamentally different. It's hard to, I'm starting to sound like I'm just like throwing superlatives out, but I'm really, really happy with it. I'm happy with it. The lead on our sound team for this project, he's got, I don't know how many thousands of hours flying 737s. He also happens to be a world-class audio engineer. So we cool. Really, we hit a gold mine with him, and we've had tremendous input and assistance from an outside developer that's been helping us, and we're not announcing that just yet. So we're still building that partnership. But this sounds incredible. Yesterday morning, excuse me, I woke up and there was a video in our in-house Discord channel that Christian had taken, where he put the viewer sort of standing in front of a terminal building at a small airport someplace, and the 737 is off in the distance, and it's starting its takeoff roll, and sort of as it goes by and takes off and climbs away, it sounded like a recording of the airplane. I mean, I've spent way more of my life standing around airports than I probably should admit to, but
yeah,
it sounds right. And one of the things that has always bugged me as a simmer is that, even if the cockpit sound right, when you get outside the airplane and the airplane goes by you, it always sounds like some weird,
it does,
between frequencies. And, DCS has gotten that really right. The A10 in DCS, when it goes by you, it sounds like what you hear at an air show, or if you're on the wrong end of it. And our 737 now in Microsoft Flight Simulator 24 gives a very realistic sound as it passes by you on a runway and takeoff roll. And what that tells me is that those sounds are put together properly, and that we have the right sources for the sounds. There's multiple turbine stages, each with its own frequency. There's a whole lot going on in there. There's muffling from the exhaust manifolds. There's
cool.
There's a ton of stuff that goes on, and we've got all that stuff modeled. And it's taken a really long time, and it's taken an enormous amount of effort. Inside the airplane is we've given it the same treatment. There's aspects of why the airplane sounds the way it sounds at different times, and we have really spent a lot of time going through what those reasons are and giving them a basis in the code structure of the airplane, so that we can adapt the sound as we need to make sure that it sounds right in all phases of flight. So we think users that have been critical of us for the weakness in our sound packages, I think they're going to be pretty impressed with what they see this time around. I hope they're thrilled. It really is extraordinary. But that level of detail and sort of throwing throwing aside the locks and telling the development team, make this the ultimate 737. That's really what we set out to do. The reality is, we're calling this a version 4.0. We should probably treat it as a new product. We're not going to. We're setting it up with an upgrade pricing methodology, so that users who own the 2020 versions will get it at a pretty significant discount, which is it's one of a number of ways in which we try to thank our customers for their loyalty, because there's certainly a lot of 737 customers out there.
Yeah.
but we felt that it was better to just draw a line on the 2020 version and call that finished and build a new version that had no, we did not want to maintain any compatibility back to 2020. We just simply cut it off. This is a new version. That way we can do everything we need to do in 2024 without having to worry that we'll break something back here, or that, you know, in order not to break something, we can't do this. We just eliminated all of those restrictions, and the team has really gone to town. You know, JT, one of the things that we get, and I think rightly criticized for, is it takes us a long time to do stuff. And 2 years ago, we went on a hiring spree. We've doubled the size of the team. We brought in a lot of talent in a broad array of areas. And one of the things that I have been doing over the last 2 years is studying, why does it take us so long? You know, we certainly have the talent, and we reached the conclusion that we were trying to do too many things at once. So effective October 1, when we officially finished 777 development, we consolidated the entire team into 737, and looking at the speed with which we got through all the deliverables. I mean, deliverables that we were worried wouldn't finish until, you know, mid-second quarter of next year are long done. We've really been able to accelerate the timeline, and we'll have the 800 will be out before year end. And we are reasonably comfortable that most of the 737 line will be up by year end. So there might be one straggler that drags into the new year. But I'm really happy with this. I think this stands on its own, and I think that people will be really happy with what we've done. And you know, we're proud of it, and we can't wait to see what people think about it.
What about Easter eggs? You gonna put any Easter eggs in there?
Yeah. Oh, there are so many. And what I love is, so we had a team discussion about the importance of not taking ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
good.
There's, you know, you and I come from a generation of simmers that, you know, we didn't really care what it looked like. We wanted it to function perfectly accurately. So the accuracy of the simulation value was secondary to, you know, sounds and visuals and that sort of stuff. And sorry, I'm distracted because Leo, who's our 2-year-old golden retriever, he just came in and set his head in my lap, because this is normally the time of day where he gets his attention. So he just came along.
Okay.
To remind me. But so how are you? It's good. I see that. Thank you. He's got a tennis ball, so he's making.
Okay. He's saying, "Come on, Dad, let's go play."
Yeah, he wants to go play with the tennis ball. So I'll say it out loud, but the old guard of simming, like we really are focused on accuracy, and that's what we want in our products. With the advent of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, it opened up simming to a whole new generation, literally. It
sure did.
And a lot of folks coming into simming now are coming into simming through gaming, and the expectations are different. And the expectations are like, hey, you know, it doesn't have to, you know, be, you know, out to the 3,000 digit, you know, of accuracy, but give me something fun to do in there in the meantime. You know, let me play with some things. Let me turn water on and off, and let me, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, all that kind of stuff. So,
is that one of the Easter eggs? Is turning the water on?
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. There, like, I mean,
write that down. Water.
There's so much stuff. I haven't found it all yet, and I keep stumbling into things. I was goofing around. I'll spill another one for you. I was actually debugging something, and I'm working on the oxygen system for the flight crew, the emergency oxygen system, and the test process that gets used, and the high flow, low flow, and, you know, all the other stuff that goes with it. So I was working on that, and I had to go and work with one of the other crew members' oxygen masks, and I was, you know, found a click spot, and I clicked on it, and I'm, you know, was able to pull a manual off of one of the shelves, and a whole bunch of cookies fell on the floor. And I was like, you know, I mean,
that's awesome.
And so, like, you know, so I was laughing, and I was just like, this is incredible. And so I hit up the guys that have been working on that, and I was like, okay, so I love the chocolate chip cookies. And that's when I found out that there's way more than that. So,
wow.
But, you know, it's been fun. You know, the last 5 years have not been fun. We really have not enjoyed it. It's been a steep uphill learning curve. We have been behind the entire time, or we felt like we were behind the entire time. We felt like we just couldn't quite get things to where we wanted them to. We needed more help. We needed more talent. We needed more team. We were so busy just trying to get the task done that we couldn't step back and have some fun with it. And with the growth we've gone through and finally getting everybody integrated and getting the workloads redistributed and sort of doing all that management stuff that I really don't enjoy about PMDG. It's become a grown-up company. I mean, we have management challenges, and we've gotten a lot of those things sorted out, and the team is now really having some fun with, hey, you know what? Let's do something. We got the serious stuff done. Now let's do something fun. And they're adding things in that just kind of, they make you smile. It shows that that they've got personality and that they want to make you laugh. And they also want to kind of give you the opportunity to make the environment in which you're simming your own. You can choose this to be there or this to be over there. Or, there's a bunch of little things that we've done, and it's a lot of fun. And people are gonna have fun. I can't wait for the first batch of streamers to start playing with it and stumble into things by accident.
I'm sure they're excited about streaming too, and then maybe that'll be sooner rather than later. I hope, but
we are already talking to some of them.
That's good. That's funny with the water and the cookies. That really made me laugh, because if that would have been me, I would have. What the hell,
Yeah, it really was. It was a very funny moment. It was like 3 a.m. and I was working on something, and all of a sudden like something happened that I did not expect, and it made me laugh out loud. And it was just like, okay, somebody actually took the time to think, let's put something in there that'll be funny. And there's. I kind of got a walking tour of a bunch of other stuff, and some of it's very funny. So, and a lot of it makes fun of me. I'm not sure why that is.
That's okay.
They really had some fun poking fun at inside jokes with our customers. There's inside jokes we have with our customers that appear in different places. There's inside jokes that the team has with me. There's things that make me uncomfortable, so they had some fun with those too.
Good.
There's a whole bunch of stuff from pop culture that I'm not going to spill the beans on, because people will find them, and it will, if you you'll get it or you'll look at it and go, what is this? But either way, it's not just PMDG sitting there with our bow ties and being all serious all the time. So because we're actually pretty relaxed and funny, we just haven't been able to get caught up enough to exercise it. So it's been a good time. Yeah.
One of the Easter eggs that would be really cool is if you turned the COM2 radio to 123.45 and Sky Blue Radio just magically came on. That'd be an excellent Christmas present. Just throw my 2 cents in there.
One of these days I'm going to figure out how to do that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep poking. Let me tell you.
You've hit me up for a couple of bumpers over the years. One of these days I'm going to hit you up for one that appears on the cabin screen. You're going to be doing like the
Oh yeah. That'd be funny. Yeah. What about some of your other aircraft? You got the 747 you're working on, and how's things going with that, and anything else you have in the pipe? I heard that there's a rumor going around, and it's actually been going around for a couple of years, and it seems to only be on the Sky Blue Radio end, that you're working on a 757. Is there any truth to that, or?
I can confirm for you that is not true.
Really?
Oh yeah. We got so much stuff going on. The last thing I need is yet another project.
57's always been my favorite aircraft. That's why.
Yeah, me too. My fourth favorite aircraft. Yeah, probably my fourth. I've gotten myself in trouble with you a couple of times by making jokes about things, and then 3 days later, people are in the forum with Bernie.
Yeah, I love it.
Like, but you said.
Yeah, I love it.
We got the 747 is well underway. Now we earlier I mentioned that we consolidated the team, which actually is going to make the whole thing go faster. But the classic 747, the 100, that one is the flight deck model is like 95% complete.
Cool.
The poor guy who's in charge of that probably just sat bolt upright in his sleep because he's like, no, it's not 95. But it really is. The airplane itself is nearly complete as well. The software code I think is probably 75% complete. And now what we really need to do is get the whole team on there. That will happen right after we get the 737-800 out. The vast majority of the development team will shift back to that one. And then we'll get to add in, all the finishing details and all the fun stuff that we've created for 737. They'll get versions of that in the 747. We've got some Easter eggs planned for that, which are just absolutely spectacular. Some things that really speak to its role and its era. So that will be fun. Let's see here. And then, so we've, in parallel to that, we're also developing the 747-400. And that one, it's, I keep telling people, I don't know which one of the two is going to release first, because the 747-400 is nearly complete code wise, but the models are way behind.
Okay.
On the 100, the models are way ahead and the code's a little bit behind. So, we could have a sluice full of 747s come summertime. It's hard to say. Beyond that, we've got Max, then there's another airplane that we've got really, really good resources for, and so that's in the offing. And then we're not sure quite what there's a lot of stuff moving. Do you remember those little puzzles where you had like one open square and you move everything around?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're doing with our development schedule beyond the 747 right now. In part because there's things, if you think back to the beginning of our conversation, there's things taking place elsewhere in our business model where we need to have development resources in position to support. So what comes next after the 747s could be a couple of different things.
Like,
I can tell you it'll be Boeing. I can tell you
that. Okay, so Boeing aircraft. Okay, got it.
Yep.
All right. Well, what else is going on? What else do you want to share with folks?
Not a whole lot. It's been a busy period of time. I just continue to be thoroughly impressed by the support we get from our customers. It really is just it's nice. I spend a lot of time kind of trolling around the internet quietly, looking at, what people say. And,
right.
I'm looking for things that are, I look for friction points to see what can we lubricate to make that a little bit easier for people. We look for the things that people really like. We look for the things that really frustrate people. And, it's been a really nice year. Since we expanded the team and we've been able to focus on getting more stuff done. I feel like customers have really noticed that we're a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more open. And
I think they appreciate that.
Yeah, and I want that to continue. I enjoy interacting with our customer group. We had a ton of fun up at FS Expo, and we're already planning out how FS Weekend's going to work. My schedule's still a little up in the air with flying, so I don't know quite what I'm doing in March. It's hard for me to see that far over the horizon, but I might actually get there.
Good.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it's a good time to be a simmer, man. Let me tell you, this really, it's extraordinary what we get to work with now. And it's a lot.
Pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to spend with us. And we look forward to what PMDG has to come for the future. We're really excited. At least I am. And I guess Leo is probably waiting for you to go play ball, huh?
Yeah, he's sitting over in the doorway staring at me like, no.
Come on, Dad. All right. Well, thank you, Robert. And we'll look forward to what you guys have for us soon.
All right. Great, JT. Hey, it's really nice seeing you. And let's try not to let another year and a half go by before we do this again.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. All right.